If you own a property in Houston or you're planning on owning a property in Houston and you're curious about what's going on in the Houston housing market in 2025, this is the ultimate video for you and the only one that you're going to need to watch because it's a pretty crazy market. Imagine you're at a busy intersection and all the traffic lights are flashing yellow. That's kind of what the Houston real estate market feels like right now. It's not necessarily go, it's not necessarily stop. It's just kind of a mix of signals right in the middle. If you're watching this, you've probably watched so many conflicting stories about what the hell is actually happening. Here in Houston, are prices crashing? Are interest rates going to stay high forever? It's overwhelming. But what if I told you there are actually some clear patterns that when you understand it, you actually are gonna know what's gonna be the best decision for you and your real estate plans this year. If you don't know me, my name is RK Rossos with the Community Warriors Real Estate Team. We've helped hundreds of people with their real estate plans here in the Houston market, and we pride ourselves in keeping our clients very informed with their decision, especially when it comes to the biggest one that they're gonna make this year. Before we actually talk to you about the Houston real estate market, I really wanna zoom out for a second, because what happens in the entire US economy has a big impact on our local market here in Houston. And recently, the chief economist of the Greater Houston Partnership has sat down with our Association of Realtors to really explain what's been going on with the US economy and how it relates to Houston real estate. And while I zoom out, I want you guys to think about the US economy kind of like the engine of a train. Now, if the engine is running smoothly, the whole train moves forward. And if the engine stalls, it's gonna affect everyone on board. There's tons of other carts in the train, but if the engine stalls, then no one's moving forward. And you can kind of see the first thing that we're looking at here is the GDP growth. So the US economy is growing at around a 3% rate, which is pretty good because it's an important foundation for Houston's economy. Next, I want us to take a look at inflation because that's going to be very important to know where prices are going and how it's going to affect our spending, right? Now, right over here, you can see that inflation at our absolute peak was at 9%. But right now we're at about 2.73%. Now, that's actually really good news because the Fed actually wants us to be as close as possible to 2% inflation. And the reason why they don't cut interest rates is if this number is not under control. And within here, with inflation still kind of being a little bit high and we've still got a little bit of a way to go, it's gonna kind of affect the pricing of homes when it comes to labor costs and the cost of materials. So that's a bit of a piece of the puzzle that's gonna influence the cost of homes and for you, what you'd be able to buy a home for. And during this time when interest rates were higher, a tougher economy, the job market was a little bit strained, but just recently we're starting to see over 200,000 jobs per month being added. So this is starting to show a little bit more resilience in this economy now is what they're saying. So overall, when you just take a look at these kind of big numbers, I just want to give you a little analogy. In these past couple of years heading into where we're at now, it's kind of like when there's a hurricane kind of in the Gulf heading to Houston, right? And the weather forecasters are projecting that it's gonna maybe hit Houston, but all of a sudden it kind of turns into a different direction. Everyone leading up into that moment is freaking out like, oh my God, this is gonna be terrible, until that last second when it turns away or it starts to die down. And that's kind of what things have been like with the US economy. Now, everyone had been kind of seeing signs that things weren't doing well, that everyone was losing jobs, that inflation wasn't coming down. So all the signs were pointing at a recession was here and right now. But it seems a lot of people are saying that things are not as bad as they seem. And if anything's gonna happen, it's possibly gonna be 2026 or later. Either way, it looks like that kind of crisis of the hurricane hitting inland to where we're at has been kind of reverted now that the job market's doing well and inflation is under control. And that's good news for you as a potential home buyer or homeowner here in Houston. Now let's kind of bring it back home to Houston. Like, what's our local story? Now, Houston is a city with a ton of different neighborhoods. I mean, all with their unique vibe and character. And they each, like these little markets, each have their own impact on the overall real estate market of the greater Houston area. One of the good things about Houston is it's kind of been an engine, like an economic engine. And we actually rank third in the entire US for job creation from November 2023 to November 2024 with 62,500 jobs. And it's really great for our city because a lot of people think that we're really dominated by oil and gas. You know, we're the energy capital of the world, but the split of all of it is a really good mix. So we're talking a lot of construction and a lot of healthcare is where a lot more jobs have come into the Houston market. And supposedly, there's actually been more than 400 different large corporations and companies that have moved here or either expanded their operations in the Houston market. And I'm sure you've seen a lot of articles and know a lot of people that are starting to relocate. I mean, just you guys right now getting in touch with us, relocating from different cities, from different states, from different countries. We see it anecdotally, and this is a really good thing for our city, knowing that there still is a lot of opportunity here in the Houston market. And when it comes to the price, obviously we talk about this every month on our channel. You can kind of see it here from the history of it that prices, the median prices for single family homes seem to have stabilized, right? We had our absolute peak right in between 22, 23. They had their little bit of a dip down and things seem to have stabilized from that point all the way up until now. And look, it's been a really wild ride for a lot of us here. And honestly, what we're kind of seeing is it used to be kind of like a flashing yellow light when it came to the market, because we started to see prices drop. We started to see things not really as stable. So a lot of people were uncertain, but it seems like the traffic light is turning green now, at least here in the Houston market. I can't really speak for a ton of other markets. There was actually a video from Reventure that I watched the other day, and Harris County was one of the only markets in the entire Texas market that has actually had stable prices and things really kind of flatten out versus a lot of other places where prices are taking a really big hit.
Values have yet to drop. One such area is Harris County in Houston. You can see in Harris County, values are still up by 0.3% over the last year. They're essentially flat, as well as over the last 2 years. They haven't gone down since the middle of 2022 either.
I really think that a lot of it is going to be due to the new jobs coming here in our market. What does it all kind of really mean for you, the homeowner or our future homeowner here in Houston? Look, I know it can be really stressful trying to buy or sell a home here in Houston or anywhere really. And you might feel like you're trying to solve a puzzle with too many pieces. You might even be asking yourself if you should just wait and see. This is the good news. If you're planning a move, this is going to be a much more buyer-friendly market. We are no longer in the frenzy of a pandemic, so it's not very high stress. See, there's more inventory to choose from. There's 31,000 single-family listings available compared to, let's say, in 22, where there were 10,000. So there's like 3 times the amount of listings available. So if you're kind of confused or a little apprehensive about making a decision, just know, this is going to be a time where you're not going to be forced to do something that you feel uncomfortable with because you might miss out. So there's not going to be that FOMO or feeling of missing out in this type of situation. It's going to be beneficial for you if you're selling your home because, of course, you want to sell your home first, or at least know where you're going before buying the next one. Whereas back in 22, I remember we had a lot of people just buy a home, put it under contract, not even be certain if they're going to sell their house, and just everything happened in this absolute frenzy. Well, yes, we had sellers that made quite a bit more money than they anticipated. I can guarantee you there are tons of people that were just completely stressed with this entire process. I was there with them. So this is going to be a little bit nicer and give you more options to choose from. And I know for you, a lot of people are curious about the interest rates, and they really haven't dropped down where a lot of people are predicting it. And I'm just gonna give you this take. I really don't believe that we're gonna be in a place that the rates are gonna drop down. Everyone's saying,
hey, Trump is gonna drop the rates. They're gonna make them drop down. Last time he was in office, rates were 3%.
This is the reality. The Federal Reserve said that they're not going to be making a ton of rate cuts this year because we've already kind of gotten inflation under control. It's at 2.7. And mortgage interest rates are not really determined by the president. The interest rates are really going to be determined by the market. So my opinion on where things are going to be, I would love for rates to be lower, because that would mean a lot of you guys would make a decision, and we'd help a lot more people get into homes. But the reality of it is, I don't believe that interest rates are going to drop down to what they used to be. I mean, I really believe that they're going to be kind of in this place where we're around the high fives, low mid sixes. And what's going to be more important is that I think that there's going to be a volatility between those two numbers, that it's going to be important that you have a good lender and a good realtor to just keep you up to date of, if you're in the process of buying a home, to lock your rate, or maybe get started in getting your home listed when we're in a time frame where there's just better interest rates. So it's just important to keep our eyes open during these times. But I would really put my money on interest rates still being pretty close to where we're at now. Now, as you guys can see, we're in a place where there still is some great economic growth nationally. We're in a place where there's a lot of jobs being created here in the Houston market. So just overall, the general consumer sentiment is that things are moving into a good place, which would mean that a lot more people are going to feel a bit more comfortable with the move. So if you're a home seller and wanting to start looking at things, I can tell you anecdotally that we've had a lot of people that have been on the fence actually getting the process started now. So here's the thing, instead of really trying to time the market, I want you guys to think about what's best for you, what's best for your family, what's best for your job, what's best for whatever reason that you actually want to move, what's gonna help you best meet your goals. And a lot of the times, it's not a lot of the stuff that we talk about. It's not, oh, hey, how many jobs are being created in Houston? It's more like, hey, where's a good neighborhood that I can be at? Am I gonna get a good deal? Do I feel that the growth of this neighborhood is gonna align with what my goals are? Is this going to be a house that I actually wanna move into? You don't need to look at this where you need to get a crazy ROI from it. You just gotta make sure that it fits and it works. Okay, so I know when it comes to what's possibly going to happen in 2025, I know a lot of people have some potential concerns with policy, right? And it's normal to have those concerns and those big what if questions if things change. And think of these what ifs like wild cards in a deck, right? You don't know what might happen, but when you pull it, it might shake things up. So we need to really kind of look at the facts, and I wanted to go over a few wild cards. And we've actually seen some talks of tariffs, and that actually might impact our market here. So we've seen a lot of talk about tariffs specifically, right, with this new administration. It's like his favorite word.
To me, the most beautiful word in the dictionary is tariff.
And understand how that might impact our real estate market. Now, we've also seen something like this, like a tariff plan like this suggested in the 1930s with the Smoot-Hawley Tariff Act. And there's kind of a chance that once or if this plan gets set into motion, that there's going to be like this kind of tit for tat battle between countries. But for the most part, it looks like it's like kind of the US just posturing for now. And we do need to be mindful of what might happen if this comes into place. From the video that I watched, they mentioned that we're seeing a lot of builders and developers start to stockpile materials, because if there's tariffs set in place, then it's going to make a lot of things just more expensive to you, to the builders, and those costs typically get passed along to the consumers. So I'll give you an example. Let's say steel that is being imported from China is just whatever, like $10. Let's just say it's a $10 item being imported from China. And right now it's $10, but if a tariff set into place, then they're possibly going to increase the cost because it costs them more money to make money on it. So that number ends up going to 12. And then so that $12 item, let's say they have 10 of those items in the new home that you're building, then that means it's $20 more, right? So you're just kind of adding up, and at the end of the day, it ultimately will go to you. So we just need to be mindful about what tariffs will actually do for real estate. And if it comes to a pretty aggressive plan, then it's likely that the home prices will increase, especially with new construction homes, because these all take materials and a lot of materials are imported. Well, who knows? We'll see how that ends up playing out. And then there's another policy, right? The what if, called the drill baby drill.
Drill, baby, drill. And we're gonna drill, baby, drill. Drill, baby, drill. We're gonna drill, baby, drill.
That there would be less regulation, there'd be more drilling, and how it would really affect Houston. And I'll be honest with you, I personally have been telling people that I think it is going to be good for Houston, but in actually kind of seeing this and then watching this presentation, it made me realize like how much more diverse Houston is. And the idea that oil drives the Houston economy is kind of something in the past. Things have gotten much more diverse, and you can kind of see here that oil production and energy jobs here in Houston don't really increase in a huge way that you may think. So yes, we may still get a little bit of an increase in jobs, but even if there was like unlimited drilling, it's not going to affect us in a crazy way that we're gonna have a huge increase. As you can see in the numbers that we shared, that out of the 62,500 jobs that were added over the past year, it was actually healthcare and construction. So not even energy and oil and gas. And one thing I'm concerned to be on the lookout for here in Houston, especially when it comes to real estate, is what may happen when it comes to immigration. So 1 in 4 people are actually immigrants here. So there's a lot of people, and it seems that there are about 300,000 undocumented workers in our entire region. So if immigration policy changes, if all of these undocumented workers were to be deported, or at least a large chunk of them, this could really affect our local economy, especially in construction. And there's been tons of videos saying that there's a lot of undocumented guys and no one would know what to do, and jobs wouldn't be able to get done for construction if these guys were not working out in the field and out in construction. What I think may happen if they start to take a much more stern stance when it comes to undocumented workers is that labor costs are going to increase, that turnaround times for houses in the Houston market are also going to increase across the board for every market. But for us here in Houston, it's just going to be a little bit tougher. So it's going to hurt our supply, and it may actually cause the prices for homes to go up. So yeah, those are the 3 big what ifs when it comes to policy, and that it actually might affect house prices. So heading into 2025, I'm very optimistic because in the presentation that I watched, they are actually projecting that 71,200 jobs are added in this next year in Houston. And keep in mind, there were 62,000 this past year, and they're projecting that they're going to be even more this upcoming year. And so the Houston market is one of the only markets in Texas that have actually had a positive increase in property values. And this may not be the exact answer, but if we're really gonna simplify things and try to point out what is the big core of it, is that we actually had a ton of jobs that were created this past year. And for them to project that 71,200 jobs are gonna be created this upcoming year, I'm pretty bullish on where Houston is going to be moving. And one of the things about that as well is based on how the jobs are broken up as well, it's not going to be a very uneven split of how many jobs are being added. You can see here that healthcare, construction, admin, manufacturing, wholesale, oil and gas, real estate, education, arts and entertainment, every single sector other than information is an increase in jobs that they're projecting. As we start to see more jobs created, I believe that this number is specifically going to signal to other developers and builders that they're still most likely going to continue building more homes because of the jobs that they're creating. So there's going to be a lot of inventory, so that's one thing to look at. Overall, what I want you to get out of this is resilience. Like I said before, a lot of people were projecting that the market wasn't really going to do well across the board. But one, we saw that the economy really corrected itself and there was still some strong GDP growth, that there were still a ton of jobs created in the entire US. And for Houston specifically, for us to be the 3rd in the nation for job creation and a projection that things are still looking good here this upcoming year, I think your main focus when it comes to your real estate plans this year shouldn't be how am I going to time things right? It really should be there's going to be quite a few more houses, and there's gonna be quite a few more people coming here in Houston. So I really need to plan where's the best place for me to set my roots in, because it looks like we are set for another year of really good growth compared to a lot of the other cities. And if you haven't made a decision on where you plan on moving, these are the 6 communities this year that I think are going to blow up. So check that out.